All right, so let me help you read this problem. This problem says the equation of motion of a person who dives off a 48 feet cliff into a river with an initial velocity of 32 feet per second. And the equation is given as h equals to negative 16 t squared plus 32t plus 48, where t is time in seconds and h is the height in feet. The question is, when will the diver hit the water when h, or when the height, is equal to 0? Okay, so we're going to transition to the board where we're going to work this problem out. So the question asks is, again, when will the diver hit the water when h, or when the height is 0? Okay, now remember that the same formula applies. Actually, we can erase this formula. We don't need this formula because we're not looking for area. All right. So this is the equation that we are given. Okay. H, the height, equals to negative 16 t squared plus 32 t plus 48. Okay. So the first thing we have to do is, because the question is when the height is 0, so if we now replace the h with 0, so 0 equals to the same equation, negative 16t squared plus 32t plus 48. So now we can factor that. So then let's rewrite this as negative 16t squared plus 32t plus 48. So we have to factor out this negative 16 because we can see 16 is the GCF. When we factor out, we have to pull out the leading term. So negative 16 t squared minus, it's going to change the sign because we factored out a negative, minus, what is it, 2t, okay? 32 divided by 16, or negative 16, so negative 2t. And then the 48 divided by negative 16, it'll be a negative 3. That is what we left with, okay? So now we can factor that as a simple trinomial, which is t and t, and then we try to find two numbers. Once we add, we get our negative 2. When we multiply, we get a negative 3. And from what I'm looking at, a plus, not plus, but a minus 3, and a plus 1 would do it, because if you take 1 times negative 3, it's going to be negative 3. If you take 1, you combine it with negative 2, it's going to be negative 2. So those are the numbers. So you can bring this negative 16 down, but obviously it's going to be 0. It's not going to really count. What you really want to do is set these, because remember, you're trying to find the height. So you're going to set these equal to 0. So t minus 3 equals to 0. You add 3 to both sides, and then t is equals to 3. And for this side, you set t plus 1 equals to 0, and then you subtract 1, and you subtract 1, t is equals to negative 1. Well, because you're talking about height or distance or things like that, you do not want to use the negative value, so you want to use the positive value, which is the 3. So to answer the question that is asked of us, when will the diver hit the water at the height of 0, it would actually be in 3. The solution would be in 3 seconds. So in 3 seconds, okay, is when the diver would hit the water. Okay, in 3 seconds, to answer the question. All right, thank you.